The way I see Africa's problem is we as a people must appreciate 500 years of slavery, 100 years of colonization, 70, 80, 60 years of bad African governments. But all this history is intertwined and are part of each other. It is one that led to one that led to one that are all still part of that same history of oppression. When you understand as young people 500 years, you see, when we talk about it, we just say, sometimes we hear some people say, look, it happened, forget it, move on. The Jewish people don't tell you what happened to the Jewish during the Holocaust, that forget it. They had 6 years of oppression with the Germans. And every German government that comes into power has to first apologize for the Holocaust. That is how Africa must deal with its history. That any government that comes into power anywhere in the world must first apologize to the African people for slavery. And we must insist on it as a people. Our youth must be educated on making sure that every government from America, Germany that participated in African slavery must first apologize and acknowledge that they participated in slavery. You see, this is where strength comes in. When you understand, when you start to understand all this, then you understand that it's not going to happen in one day. It's not going to happen in 2023. I was telling the other journalists, when my father was speaking and he became very politically active was in 71. I was 9. I'm 59. In my career, I've been singing now politically for 40 years. That's 4 decades. So you see, when somebody like me is just sitting down quietly, it's not because I cannot talk or shout. It's because I have a different perspective or interpretation of understanding time and appreciating that time I'm talking to you about. What my father went through, what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah went through, Marcus Garvey, that even if it wasn't for those people, probably I would not even care. I'll be singing, hey baby, I love you, please come to my house, let's have sex. Maybe I'll be singing about that, I won't even care. So you see, what I'm trying to explain to you, it is that time that brings us here, that some of us are passionate. But we must understand, we mustn't take 500 years of slavery for granted and think it's just going to just end with the snap of the finger. It's going to take probably, I hope not another 500 years for that change. But we must keep on participating and educating ourselves on that change. That because, and appreciate those people that have fought, names that we don't even know. So many people have died fighting for this change that we don't know. Patrice Lumumba, Mandela, even Muhammad Ali, Bob Marley. We have been singing about this change for a better life for the African people, and we have to keep on doing it. That a generation will come one day that even my own son, will you believe my son is even political? Go and listen to his album. He's even political now. If they told me 20 years ago I'm going to have a son that will be singing politically too, and that the struggle will still be talking about this in 2021, 20 years ago I probably will not know. But you see, after thinking and meditating and saying, wow, this is not going to just happen overnight, I start to appreciate that time I'm talking to you about. But if you don't get engaged, if the youth don't get engaged, we must not lose that trend, that thread of connection where we understand Martin Luther King and all these great people I've been talking to you about. Go, know that history, so then you appreciate your time and you will know yourself what you have to do to pass that same struggle. Because if we lose that historical facts of what has happened, then we lose where we're coming from, where we're at, and where we want to be. They say a man that doesn't know where he's coming from will not know where he is and where he's going. And that's the problem of the youth. They stop teaching history in schools. So we don't even know Nigerian history. How many young people know about the Civil War? How many people know what brought about the Civil War? And then if we go on, you see, I can go on and on. I say, you see, you're making me talk. I'm going to be here for 30 minutes. The participants of the Civil War, who trained them? The British. I'm talking to you in English. It's part of our problem. I should be expressing myself as an African in an African language. I should be listening to me as in an African language. So this is the effects. I dream in English. I think in English. My children dream in English, think in English. It's a major problem. And we were taught to look down on anybody that was indigenous in their mind. We call them illiterate. But those are the people the governments over the years should have preserved, that we mustn't lose our Edo language or Igbo language or Yoruba languages. In the Yoruba land alone, do you know how many Yoruba dialects there are? How many do we even know? Then we brought it to Lagos and we have one very foolish interpretation of all the dialects together that is the worst Yoruba you can even think about. When you hear Yoruba Ijebu, so sweet, so musical. There is no African language that is not musical. We are losing it. But these are the things government, if governments were not part and parcel of all these big umbrellas that are keeping us oppressed, we will not even be talking about it today. But it's that same system that people like us keep on talking about, agitating that we mustn't lose. But when people talk about that change, they think it's violent. So they kill a Sankara, they kill a Lumumba, and they stop anybody that is agitating. Because if Africa becomes the envy of the world, let me even go, you see, we can divert. There's no topic we cannot go into that we will not go on for hours. How many of us as Africans are ready to visit even Nigeria to see how beautiful our country is? If they ask all of us, most of us, where would you want to go? Kenya, South Africa, or America? Choose any state in America. Do you know that 99% of the youth will choose America? Why? Because America has done so much propaganda to tell us their country is the most beautiful country. But I've been there. There's poverty there. They have their struggles. They don't highlight in their struggles. Look at Brexit. They don't highlight in it. They don't highlight in their queue for petrol. There's no food on in their this that they made a bad decision. They don't highlight in it for us to understand that they have their problems. They are managing the problems, but they don't want us to manage our own problems. They bring division, war. They drum war. They drum violence. Who is going to supply us the guns? Them. There is no African country that produces bullets. So we will make the money. We will use our resources again to buy the bullet to kill ourselves. Which is why I'm telling you, the participants in the Civil War, General Gowon, who trained him? The British. Ojukwu, who trained him? The British. These two men spoke fluent English as all the political figures of that era, the founding fathers of Nigeria. Tafawa Balewa, fluent English. Nnamdi Azikiwe, fluent English. Chief Awolowo, fluent English. Then when they wanted to go and look for freedom for their people, they were against each other because the education of the colonial master taught them to hate each other already through ethnicity. So Igbo man must not like Yoruba man, he must be high. Yoruba man must be suspicious of it, and they also and they all went to London. Then the British, what could he do? You tell Awolowo that don't trust Nnamdi Azikiwe, don't trust this one. So they come back. Who organized the elections for them? The British. Who put the people in power again? The British. Who did they answer to? The British. The people that they went to fight to, that they know they had better knowledge of slavery then than you today. Do you know about slavery? If I ask you, you don't know anything about slavery because you haven't read any books, because they refuse to teach you. But they that even knew, what did they do with the knowledge? Because they had been trained not to even do anything with that knowledge. So they go give us the stupid education that they wanted to give us to make us more slaves, start a civil war, and they have been manipulating us ever since then. Do you understand what I'm saying? But see, between 1960 and now, see how many lives have been lost. See how much time has gone. That even me that has this knowledge, I'm 59 and next year I'll be 60. And my son too is now saying it. And I'm sure his own children will be saying the same matter. But what is important is we have to keep on talking about it. So you don't forget. And you too go home and make sure your own children, if you are an Igbo boy, make sure your children speak Igbo. Think in Igbo. Dream in Igbo. They are the future of this country. What is the end result of what we are saying? Africa must be the envy of the world. Like I said, if I ask you, no, be honest with you. If I ask you, will you go to Kenya or America? Don't lie to me. You will choose America. But Africa is so beautiful. Why do you think they came here in the first place? We have the resources that none of them can dream of having in their land. Why did they come here in the first place 500 years ago? Because of our resources, our intelligence, the manpower, everything is here. That if African governments were good and were allowed to think Pan-Africanists in their minds, we will have a railway line from Lagos to Nairobi. Can you imagine a rail? But when they want to bring a railway line, they bring one that will be breaking down from just ordinary Kaduna to Abuja. They bring the railway line, they use all your money to buy a train that they have abandoned there. Not those fast TVA, or those fast trains that go at 370 miles per hour. That I will go from Cotonou to Lagos in 30 minutes, shoom, I mean, by rail. By yard, Cotonou, Ghana, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso. Imagine building a solid railway line around Africa. Why would you want to go to America? Why would you spend your hard-earned African currency in America when you have not even seen the beautiful landscape of your own continent? So you must not be allowed to think like this. You understand what I'm saying?